What's up, MetaNerdz? This breakdown of the stunning T-51 heavy bomber created by Simon Coles. Check it out down in the link below. It seems to me to be a combo of the ARC-170 and a bit of the BSF-17 heavy bomber. I know people like to hate on that bomber. I think it's just mostly justified critique of the movie moving on to the ship, as it absolutely makes sense to have bombs dropped via space, because they are accelerated in the ship and then continue on their trajectory, even being attracted to the target when falling toward its gravity. You can still think the movie sucked, without acting like Star Wars hasn't always pushed the World War II and space theme over tech logic sometimes. As I think this large section underneath plays a similar role, being packed full of all sorts of explosives from small bombs to fat boys, everything from hundreds of anti-personnel EMP bombs for droids, to bunker busters to hit deeply buried sites, and leaflets like those dropped during World War II for propaganda or to warn civilians of upcoming attacks. As the CIS was ramping up their war crimes in those final months, and used their droid army advantage to take civilians hostage. The main body section would look just like this, with stations for engineering and comms to understand the state of the ship and get in touch with others, and gunner stations at the front and rear, operating these amazing quad laser cannon turrets. I'd imagine they'd be light laser cannons just for shooting down other starfighters, and the sheer volume of fire should be the best option against the more nimble interceptors like the Tri-Droid and later A-Wing or TIEs. Many of these options were seen in the PTB-625 planetary bomber, but the T-51 is larger and likewise has more weaponry and greater payload options, with the proton bomb bay not even sticking out of the PTB. And if you were wondering, all of the weapons on this are light laser cannons. And since its cost is 130,000 credits, and the ARC cost 180,000 credits, I think the T-51 would be much more expensive, but not twice the cost, so maybe around 230k. I would put the length closer to the MG100, so around 25 meters or 82 feet long, making it just under twice the length of the ARC-170. At about 7 meters or 23 feet tall, it was about a Jawa shorter than the AT-ST, with a whopping 37 meters or 121 feet wide, makes it nearly as wide as the Sandcrawler is long, and 5.5 TIE fighters could stretch across it. The TIE bomber is the slowest of the TIEs, so I'll cap out its atmospheric speed at 850 km per hour or 528 miles per hour, which is slower than the Y-Wing and ARC-170, though to be fair, I could see it at around the same speed. With those massive ion engine arrays, it is essentially packing in the entire thrust of the X-Wing into each cluster, with 4 of the same engines on each side, with these retro thrust nozzle caps on the ends just like the X-Wing. And then for fine maneuverability, there are these single thrusters on the end of each wing, which could be controlled independently and allow it to make sharp, near 90-degree turns in space or atmosphere. These wings would be filled with fuel and electrical lines to power everything, and the main generator and cooling systems being located in the main body, like we see with a lot of similar ships. Sometimes the S-foil is used in part to increase the area of attack, like the X-Wing. Instead of being a few inches apart, the guns are now many feet apart, but here obviously there are no guns on these wings, so it's just for their main role of heat dissipation. The underside of these wings also house 2 of the large landing gear legs, which are quite long, with its third leg dropping down from the main body, along with a ladder but seemingly no ramp, which does raise some big questions on how heavy supplies get into this thing, let alone all those bombs. But usually this is done through some sort of specialized system like many of the other missile loading tech for other starfighters and bombers, and I could see this landing on top of bay loading doors, something like we see in the Venator. You can't load it up from ground level because there isn't a lot of clearance, but by sitting over these lowered levels, these adjustable height areas, you can lift things up into the bomb section, and probably all the way up to the main tube body for other cargo. Some other details to note is that its ball turrets do not allow for any organic eyes on targets like with many other ships, which is something a lot of pilots claim to really like. And so it means that you're heavily relying on sensors and cameras, which of course opens it up to being rendered impotent from ion weaponry. Though of course they don't do that with the pilot, who would be up in this Y-Wing style cockpit up top. This is a fan ship, so there's not that much history or behind the scenes facts. I don't want to unnecessarily drag this video out, so if you could please hit the like button to offset whatever algorithm hit I take for this concise video. This is just one of those amazing creations that I've been meaning to show off for a while. And I hope it gets your minds thinking of how cool it is and why we don't see more bombers like this in the Clone Wars. Really, everything else besides the TIE bomber are more like fighter jets. Even the Y-Wing bomber still fires missiles off of a structure that design-wise isn't much different from other starfighters. I think it would be cool to see more of the dedicated, actually dropping payloads on target type of craft. Dedicated bombers like this. Which again, to check out all these high quality images, check out the link down in the description or the comment. Subscribe if you want to see more, check out these other videos. But most important of all, remember, looking cool is the most important ship stat, and the Force will be with you, always.